My golden child sister stole my dad's credit card and spent $20,000 at the mall, so I'm refusing to pay her private school tuition. I should probably explain how I ended up in this mess. When I was 22, fresh out of college with a computer science degree, I landed a job at a tech startup that got acquired 6 months later. My stock options turned into real money, $180,000 after taxes. Life-changing money for someone who grew up sharing a bedroom with my sister. Dad sat me down the week the money hit my account. He had this look on his face, the one he always wore when discussing my sister. "You know Brielle's tuition is $45,000 a year," he said. "With your windfall, maybe you could help the family out." I should have said no right then, but Dad had this way of making everything about family responsibility. Plus, Brielle was only 14, and I remembered how hard high school had been at our underfunded public school. "I'll cover 2 years," I agreed. "But after that, you and Mom need to figure it out." Dad pulled me into a hug. "You're a good sister." Brielle didn't even thank me. She just nodded when Dad told her, then went back to scrolling through her phone. For 2 years, I watched my bank account shrink by $90,000 while Brielle posted photos from her private school's ski trips and yacht parties. Every time I visited home, she'd complain about how hard her life was. Too much homework, not enough designer options in the school store, her friends had better cars. Then last month, Dad called me at 11 p.m., his voice shaking. "We have a problem." Brielle had taken his credit card, the one he kept in his desk drawer for emergencies, and gone on a shopping spree that would make a celebrity blush. Luxury handbags, jewelry, shoes, clothes. She'd even bought $3,000 worth of makeup at one store. "How did she spend that much?" I asked. "She brought friends," Dad said quietly. "Told them everything was on her." The statement shows charges at 12 different stores. My blood went cold. "Where is she now?" "In her room. She says she deserves nice things because her friends have them." I drove to my parents' house. Brielle was on her bed, surrounded by shopping bags, taking selfies with her new purchases. "You need to return everything," I said from her doorway. She looked up, annoyed. Dad said he'd handle it. "With what money? You know they're drowning in debt." She shrugged. "That's not my problem. Besides, you have money. You can pay off the card." Something inside me snapped. "I'm not paying off your shopping spree, and I'm done paying your tuition." Her eyes widened. "You can't do that. I'm only a junior. If I leave Westbridge Academy now, I'll have to go to public school for senior year." "Then you'll go to public school," Brielle screamed. Mom came running. Dad followed. They crowded into her room while Brielle sobbed about how I was ruining her life. "Just pay the credit card," Mom pleaded. "We'll figure out the tuition somehow." "No," I said calmly. "She stole from Dad and spent money we don't have. There have to be consequences." Dad looked torn. "Maybe we can work something out." "There's no we," I interrupted. "I was helping out of generosity, not obligation. That generosity is done." I left them there. Brielle crying, Mom comforting her, Dad staring at the floor. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls. When I finally answered, Dad was frantic. "Brielle's principal just called," he said. "She received an anonymous tip about Brielle's shopping spree. Someone sent them photos of her bragging on social media about using a stolen credit card." My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means Westbridge Academy has a zero-tolerance policy for theft. They're holding an emergency disciplinary hearing tomorrow. If they expel her, he didn't finish. But I understood. Even public schools might reject a student expelled for theft. "Who would do this?" Mom wailed in the background. But I had a sinking feeling I knew exactly who sent those photos, and why. I arrived at my parents' house an hour later. Mom was pacing in the kitchen, her coffee untouched and cold. Dad sat at the table with his laptop open, frantically typing emails to anyone at Westbridge who might listen. Brielle was nowhere to be seen. "Where is she?" I asked. "Upstairs," Mom said without looking at me. "She's been crying all morning. She won't eat." "Have you talked to the principal?" Dad finally looked up, his eyes bloodshot. "She won't discuss it over the phone. Says everything will be addressed at the hearing tomorrow at 10 a.m. Parents and student required to attend." "What about the credit card?" I asked. "Have you filed a police report?" Mom's head snapped toward me. "Absolutely not. We're not getting our daughter arrested. She committed credit card fraud," I said flatly. "That's a crime." "She's 16, Mom said, her voice rising. "She made a mistake. A $20,000 mistake," I corrected. "And now someone's reported it to her school. You need to understand how serious this is." Dad closed his laptop slowly. "Do you know who sent those photos?" I hesitated. "I have a theory." "Who?" Mom demanded. "Chelsea Hartley." The name hung in the air like smoke. Chelsea had been Brielle's best friend since freshman year. She came from old money, the kind where your great-grandfather's name is on buildings downtown. For 2 years, Chelsea and Brielle were inseparable. They wore matching outfits, shared lockers, posted identical captions on their photos. Then 3 months ago, everything changed. Brielle came home from school one day with red eyes and locked herself in her room. Over dinner, Mom finally got it out of her. Chelsea had been accepted into an exclusive summer program in Switzerland. Only 6 students from their entire school got in. Brielle hadn't even been nominated. "It's not fair," Brielle had sobbed. "I have better grades than her. My essay was perfect. They only picked her because of her last name." For weeks, Brielle obsessed over it. She'd screenshot Chelsea's social media posts and pick them apart at dinner. She started rumors at school that Chelsea's parents had bribed the program directors. She even created a fake Instagram account to leave mean comments on Chelsea's photos. I told her to stop, warned her that she was making things worse. But Brielle couldn't let it go. Then 2 weeks before the credit card incident, Chelsea and Brielle had a massive fight in the school parking lot. According to witnesses, Brielle had screamed that Chelsea's family was fake and that everyone only pretended to like her out of obligation. Chelsea had responded with 2 words: prove it. And now Chelsea had her proof. That girl has always been jealous of Brielle, Mom said, interrupting my thoughts. Or, I said carefully, Brielle gave her ammunition and she used it. Whose side are you on? Mom's voice was sharp. I'm on the side of reality. Brielle stole Dad's credit card, bought $20,000 worth of stuff, and bragged about it online. Chelsea didn't make that happen. Brielle did. Dad rubbed his face. What do we do? Return everything she bought, I said. Get as much of the money back as possible. Then go to the hearing tomorrow and hope the school shows mercy. And what about you? Mom asked. Will you help us pay the credit card bill? I felt everyone's eyes on me. No, I said. I won't. She's your sister, Mom said. And I already gave her $90,000 for school. Money I worked for. Money I could have used for a down payment on a house or paid off my own student loans. But I gave it to her because I thought it would help. And she didn't appreciate a single dollar of it. You don't understand what it's like for her, Mom said. All her friends have money. She's trying to fit in. Then maybe she shouldn't go to a school where she needs to steal to keep up with her friends. Mom's eyes filled with tears. You were always jealous of her. The accusation hit me like a slap. Jealous? I repeated slowly. Of what, exactly? The fact that she's never worked a day in her life? That you and Dad have given her everything while I paid my own way through college? That she can do no wrong in your eyes while I'm the one who has to be responsible? You had opportunities, Mom said. You got that job, that money, that I earned? I cut her off. I studied computer science while Brielle was failing algebra. I worked internships while she was posting thirst traps on Instagram. I saved money while she was begging for designer bags. Don't you dare make this about opportunities. The silence that followed was suffocating. Finally, Dad spoke. What do you want us to do? I want you to actually parent her, I said. For once in her life, let her face real consequences. Stop protecting her from her own choices. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Where are you going? Mom called after me. Home, I said. I'll come to the hearing tomorrow, but after that, you're on your own. I didn't wait for a response. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Chelsea's face when Brielle had screamed at her in that parking lot. How quiet she'd gone. How she'd walked away without another word. People assumed Chelsea had everything handed to her because of her last name, but I'd met her a few times at school events. She was quiet, thoughtful. She volunteered at the local animal shelter every weekend. She'd gotten into that Switzerland program because she'd spent 3 years studying environmental science and had written a research paper that got published in an academic journal. Chelsea had worked for her success, and Brielle had tried to destroy her reputation because she couldn't handle someone else winning. At 2 a.m., I made a decision. I opened my laptop and pulled up Chelsea's contact information. Her mother was listed as the head of the Westbridge Academy Parent Association. I composed an email. Mrs. Hartley, you don't know me, but I'm Brielle's older sister. I want to apologize for everything my sister has put Chelsea through. The things she said, the rumors she spread, none of it was deserved. I also want you to know that what Chelsea reported to the school was true. My sister did steal a credit card. She did brag about it online. And she's never faced real consequences for her actions because my parents have always protected her. I'm not asking you to do anything. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in my family thinks what happened is okay. I hope Chelsea knows how impressive she is. That Switzerland program is lucky to have her. Sincerely, Alex. I hit send before I could change my mind. The response came at 6 a.m. Alex, thank you for reaching out. Chelsea has been struggling with what happened between her and your sister. It's been difficult watching her second-guess herself. I want you to know that reporting this to the school wasn't easy for Chelsea. She debated it for days, but ultimately, she felt that other students deserved to know what kind of person they were dealing with. I appreciate your honesty. It's rare to meet someone willing to hold their own family accountable. Also, I spoke with the principal last night. She asked me to tell you that your presence at the hearing would be appreciated. Best regards, Patricia Hartley. I stared at that last line. The principal wanted me at the hearing. This was about to get much worse. The Westbridge Academy administration building looked like something out of a college campus. Marble columns, perfectly manicured lawns, brass plaques commemorating donors whose names appeared in history books. I arrived 15 minutes early and found my parents already in the waiting area outside the principal's office. Dad wore his funeral suit. Mom had put on too much makeup to hide her puffy eyes. Brielle sat between them, staring at her phone like it might save her. She looked up when I walked in. Why are you here? She asked. I was invited, I said simply. Mom's eyes widened. By who? Before I could answer, the office door opened. Principal Reynolds appeared, a tall woman with silver hair and the kind of presence that made even parents straighten their posture. Thank you all for coming, she said. Please, follow me. We filed into her office. It was spacious, lined with bookshelves and framed diplomas. A long conference table dominated the center of the room. Already seated were Mrs. Hartley, Chelsea, and 2 people I didn't recognize. A man in a police uniform and a woman with a briefcase. Brielle stopped dead when she saw Chelsea. What is she doing here? Brielle demanded. Chelsea Hartley is the student who reported the incident, Principal Reynolds said calmly. She has every right to be present. This is harassment, Mom said immediately. You're letting this girl target our daughter. Mrs. Martinez, Principal Reynolds said, her voice cooling several degrees. I suggest you hear all the facts before making accusations. We took our seats. I ended up directly across from Chelsea. Our eyes met briefly. She looked nervous but determined. Principal Reynolds folded her hands on the table. Let me begin by explaining why we're here. 3 days ago, this school received an anonymous email containing screenshots from Brielle Martinez's private social media accounts. These screenshots showed Brielle bragging about using her father's credit card without permission to purchase luxury items. She explicitly referred to this as theft in her own words. She slid a printed screenshot across the table. There it was, in Brielle's own words. Just stole my dad's credit card and bought everything I wanted. If you're gonna be poor, at least don't tell your kids where you hide your emergency money, lol. Mom's face went white. That was a joke, Brielle said quickly. I was kidding. Were you? Principal Reynolds asked. She slid another screenshot across the table. Because your purchase history shows $20,347 in charges across 12 stores on the same day you posted that message. I was going to pay him back, Brielle stammered. With what money? The woman with the briefcase asked. She introduced herself as Ms. Fisher from the school's legal department. According to your financial aid application, your family's household income is $67,000 per year. Your tuition is being paid by a third party, your sister, Alex Martinez. You have no declared income and no savings account. So I ask again, how are you planning to pay back $20,000? Brielle looked at me desperately. Alex would have helped me. Every eye in the room turned to me. No, I said clearly. I wouldn't have. See? Mom said to me. This is your fault. If you had just... Mrs. Martinez, Principal Reynolds interrupted. Your daughter committed credit card fraud. The amount stolen exceeds $10,000, which makes it grand larceny in this state. This is not a family matter. This is a criminal matter. The police officer leaned forward. I'm Officer Briggs. I'm here because the school is required to report suspected criminal activity involving students. I've already spoken with your husband, and he's confirmed that he did not authorize any of these charges. Dad's face was gray. He wouldn't look at any of us. However, Officer Briggs continued, because the card holder is her parent and he's choosing not to press charges, we're treating this as a juvenile matter. But that doesn't mean there are no consequences. Principal Reynolds took over. Westbridge Academy has a zero-tolerance policy for theft regardless of who the victim is. Brielle, you violated that policy. Additionally, you used school resources, our Wi-Fi network, our facilities, to brag about criminal activity. That brings the school into potential liability. What does that mean? Mom asked, her voice small. It means Brielle is expelled, effective immediately. The word landed like a bomb. Brielle gasped. Mom started crying. Dad just stared at the table. You can't do this, Mom said. She's a junior. This will ruin her college applications. Brielle ruined her own college applications when she decided to commit fraud, Principal Reynolds said. However, there's more we need to discuss. She nodded at Chelsea. Chelsea cleared her throat. Her voice was steady but quiet. For the past 3 months, Brielle has been bullying me. She started rumors that my family bribed my way into the Switzerland program. She created fake social media accounts to harass me. She sent anonymous messages to my friends saying I was racist and elitist. She cornered me in the parking lot and screamed at me in front of half the school. That's not true, Brielle said immediately. I have evidence, Chelsea said. She pulled out her own folder. Screenshots of the fake accounts. Testimony from 5 different students who witnessed the parking lot incident. Messages from friends asking if the rumors about me were true. She slid everything across the table. Principal Reynolds examined the evidence. Her expression grew harder with each page. Brielle, she said. Do you have anything to say? She's lying, Brielle said. She's always been jealous of me. Jealous? Chelsea's voice rose for the first time. Of what? You steal from your own father. You lie to your friends about your family's money. You bully anyone who succeeds when you don't. What exactly do I have to be jealous of? You think you're better than everyone, Brielle shot back. You and your perfect life and your stupid Switzerland program. I worked for that program, Chelsea said. I spent 3 years on research. I volunteered every weekend. I earned it. What have you earned, Brielle? Other than your sister's money? The room went silent. Mom stood up. We're leaving. This is clearly biased. Chelsea has turned the entire school against our daughter. Sit down, Mrs. Martinez, Ms. Fisher said. We're not finished. Mom sat. Ms. Fisher opened her briefcase and pulled out more documents. During our investigation into this incident, we reviewed Brielle's academic record. We found several concerning inconsistencies. My stomach dropped. 3 of her papers from last semester were flagged by plagiarism detection software. When we investigated further, we found that Brielle had purchased these papers from an online essay mill. What? Dad's head snapped up. That's not possible. We have the credit card statements, Ms. Fisher said. Brielle used your emergency card for those purchases too. $450 per paper. $1,350 total. Brielle started crying, not the manipulative tears she usually used, real panicked crying. I was busy, she sobbed. I had so much to do. Everyone cheats sometimes. Everyone does not cheat, Principal Reynolds said coldly, and certainly not at Westbridge Academy. Those papers earned Brielle A's, Ms. Fisher continued. A's that she did not earn. A's that affected class rankings and potentially scholarship opportunities for other students. This is ridiculous, Mom said, but her voice was weak. We've also discovered that Brielle has been charging tutoring sessions to the school's discretionary fund, Ms. Fisher added. Sessions that, according to the tutors, she never attended. She would sign in, wait 15 minutes, then leave. She's been doing this for 8 months. The school has paid $6,000 for tutoring she never received. I felt sick. All this time, while I was working overtime to pay her tuition, she was stealing from the school too. How much? I asked. In total, how much has she stolen or scammed? Ms. Fisher consulted her notes. $20,347 from your father's credit card, $1,350 for purchased papers, $6,000 in fraudulent tutoring charges. In total, $27,797. Dad made a choking sound. The school is prepared to file a civil lawsuit to recover the $6,000, Ms. Fisher said. We're also requiring that Brielle's academic record be corrected. All papers purchased from essay mills will receive Fs. Her GPA will be recalculated accordingly. What will her GPA be? I asked. Ms. Fisher looked at her papers. 1.8. A 1.8. after I paid $90,000 for her education. Principal Reynolds stood. Brielle Martinez, you are expelled from Westbridge Academy effective immediately. Your parents will receive a formal letter detailing the reasons for expulsion and the school's intention to pursue civil penalties. You have 1 week to remove your belongings from your locker. Please, Mom begged. She'll do better. She'll return everything. She'll retake the classes. Mrs. Martinez, Principal Reynolds said, not unkindly, your daughter has spent 2 years lying, stealing, and bullying. The pattern is clear. She needs help that this school cannot provide. She turned to me. Alex, may I speak with you privately? I nodded, ignoring Brielle's stare. We stepped into a smaller office. Principal Reynolds closed the door. I wanted to thank you, she said. Your email to Mrs. Hartley showed remarkable integrity. You know about that? Mrs. Hartley forwarded it to me. She thought I should know that at least one person in your family was willing to be honest about what happened. I didn't know what to say. I also wanted to tell you something, Principal Reynolds continued. We suspected Brielle was cheating for months, but every time we tried to investigate, your parents would threaten legal action. They made it nearly impossible for us to do our jobs. I'm sorry, I said automatically. Don't be, she said. You're not responsible for your sister's choices, or your parents' enabling. She paused. I reviewed your file from when you attended Westbridge for 1 semester in 9th grade. I'd forgotten about that. Dad had managed to scrape together the tuition for 1 semester before the bills became too much. I'd transferred back to public school after Christmas break. You were an excellent student, Principal Reynolds said. Straight A's, even in advanced classes. You could have thrived here if circumstances had been different. That was a long time ago, I said. My point is that you succeeded despite your circumstances. Your sister had every advantage and squandered all of them. That's not a reflection on you. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you, I managed. When I returned to the main office, my family was already standing to leave. Brielle's eyes were red and puffy. Mom looked like she'd aged 10 years. Dad just looked defeated. We need to talk, Dad said to me, about the credit card bill. No, I said. We don't. Alex, please, he said. We can't afford this. The bill is due in 2 weeks. If we don't pay it, our credit will be destroyed. Then you should have thought about that before letting Brielle take the card. I didn't let her, Dad said. She stole it. From a drawer in your desk, I said. A drawer she obviously knew about. How many times has she taken it before? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. This isn't the first time, is it? She borrowed it a few times, Mom admitted. Small things. We always made her pay us back. How? I demanded. She has no job, no income. How did she pay you back? More silence. She didn't, I said. She never paid you back. You just let it go because that's what you always do. She's our daughter, Mom said. So am I replied. But you've never asked me to bail you out of your own bad decisions. That's different, Mom said. How? You've always been more capable. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Capable. Is that what we're calling it? Not the fact that Brielle's been spoiled her entire life while I had to work for everything? That's not fair, Dad said. Isn't it? When I was 16, I was working at the grocery store to save for a car. Brielle was 16 when I bought her a car for her birthday. Remember that? I did remember. I'd used $8,000 of my first bonus from work to buy her a used Honda. She'd cried, not from gratitude, but because it wasn't a BMW like her friend's car. When I was applying to colleges, you told me we couldn't afford to help with tuition, I continued. So I worked 3 jobs and took out loans. But somehow you found $45,000 a year to send Brielle to Westbridge. You offered to help, Mom said weakly. Because you guilted me into it, I said. Because you made me feel like it was my responsibility to give my sister opportunities that I never had. We did the best we could, Dad said. No, I said. You did the easiest thing. You took the path of least resistance with Brielle. Every tantrum, every demand, every screw-up, you caved. And now she's expelled, she's facing a lawsuit, and she has no idea how to function in the real world. What do you want us to do? Mom asked. I want you to let her fail, I said. I want you to stop rescuing her from consequences. I want you to treat her like an adult instead of a toddler who can't be held accountable for anything. She's only 16, Mom said. I was working full-time at 22 while paying off student loans, I said. She's old enough to understand that actions have consequences. I grabbed my bag and headed for the exit. Alex, wait, Dad called. The credit card. Sell the car I bought her, I said without turning around. That should cover at least half of it. She needs that car for school. Then she can take the bus like I did. I walked out and didn't look back. For 2 weeks, my phone exploded with messages. Mom called 15 times a day. Dad sent long emails explaining their financial situation. Even Brielle texted, starting with apologies that quickly devolved into anger when I didn't respond. You've always hated me. Mom was right. You're just jealous. I hope you're happy ruining my life. I blocked her number. The only message I responded to was from Chelsea. Thank you for speaking up. I know it wasn't easy. I wrote back. Thank you for being brave enough to report it. Not everyone would have, she replied. My mom says you're welcome at our house anytime. She thinks you're pretty cool. That made me smile for the first time in days. 3 weeks after the hearing, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Alex? It's Principal Reynolds from Westbridge. Oh, I said. Hi. I wanted to update you on your sister's situation. The school board met yesterday to discuss the civil lawsuit. My heart sank. And they've decided not to pursue it. I was stunned. Why not? Because we did some research into your family's financial situation. Suing you would likely bankrupt your parents. The board decided that wasn't in anyone's best interest. That's generous, I said. However, she continued, we're still requiring that Brielle's academic record reflect her actual work. Her corrected GPA is on her permanent transcript. I understand. There's something else, Principal Reynolds said. During our investigation, we discovered that your sister had been telling other students that you were paying her tuition as an investment, that you expected her to pay you back when she became successful. What? I said. That's not true. I told her it was a gift. I know, Principal Reynolds said. We have several students willing to testify that Brielle described it differently. She made it sound like you were holding the money over her head. I felt sick again. I wanted you to know, Principal Reynolds said, because I think it explains some of her behavior. She was trying to keep up appearances with her friends. She didn't want them to know she needed financial help. So she lied about me? I'm afraid so. I sat down heavily on my couch. I'm sorry, Principal Reynolds said. I thought you deserved to know the truth. After I hung up, I just sat there for a long time. All this time, while I thought I was helping her, she'd been using me as a prop, telling people I was some kind of loan shark sister who demanded repayment, making herself the victim in a story where she was anything but. I should have been angrier, but mostly I just felt empty. The calls from my parents finally stopped after I sent one text to Dad. I'm changing my number. Don't ask me for the new one. When you're ready to actually parent Brielle instead of enabling her, you can reach me through my work email. He responded, You're abandoning your family when we need you most. I wrote back, No, I'm choosing to not be part of your dysfunction anymore. Then I blocked their numbers and got a new phone. 6 months passed. I threw myself into work. I got a promotion. Started dating someone who didn't come with a mountain of family drama. Bought a condo with the money I'd been saving since I no longer had to fund my sister's fantasy life. Then one Saturday, I was at the farmer's market when I heard someone call my name. I turned to see Chelsea carrying a basket of vegetables. Alex, hi. She seemed genuinely happy to see me. Chelsea, hey, how's Switzerland? Amazing, she said, her eyes bright. I leave next month. I'm just home for the summer. That's incredible. Hey, are you busy right now? She asked. My mom's at the coffee shop around the corner. She'd love to see you. I hesitated. I'd spent half a year avoiding anything to do with Westbridge or that whole nightmare, but Chelsea seemed so hopeful. Sure, I said. Why not? The coffee shop was one of those trendy places with Edison bulbs and reclaimed wood everywhere. Mrs. Hartley was seated by the window, reading a book. She looked up when we approached and smiled warmly. Alex, how wonderful to see you. We sat down, ordered coffee, and talked. It was surprisingly easy. Mrs. Hartley asked about my job, my new condo. Chelsea showed me photos from her research project. No one mentioned Brielle. Finally, after about an hour, Mrs. Hartley said, I hope I'm not overstepping, but I wanted to tell you something. Okay, I said cautiously. After the hearing, Chelsea told me what you'd done for your sister, paying her tuition, trying to help her, and I was impressed by your character. So many people would have held a grudge. I did hold a grudge, I admitted. Eventually, rightfully so, Mrs. Hartley said, but you also showed remarkable grace during the hearing. You told the truth, even when it hurt your family. I didn't know what to say. I'm on the board of directors for a tech nonprofit, Mrs. Hartley continued. We provide coding education to underserved communities. We're looking for a new program director, someone with technical skills and genuine passion for equity. My heart started beating faster. I showed them your LinkedIn profile, she said. They were very impressed. The position pays $120,000, full benefits, and it's fully remote. You'd be overseeing curriculum development and instructor training. I stared at her. I'm not saying you'd get the job automatically, Mrs. Hartley said, but if you're interested, I can set up an interview. Yes. I managed. Yes, I'm very interested. She smiled. Good. I'll send you the details tomorrow. As we were leaving, Chelsea hugged. I'm glad things are working out for you, she said. You deserve good things. So do you, I said. Go change the world in Switzerland. I'll try, she grinned. I got the job. 3 months later, I was running programs in 12 cities, managing a team of 20 instructors, and loving every minute of it. I bought my parents a Christmas card that year, but didn't include a return address. Just a simple note, hope you're well. Alex, I heard through mutual acquaintances that Brielle had enrolled in public school and was struggling, that she'd gotten a part-time job at a fast food restaurant and hated it, that she'd applied to community college but was rejected due to her GPA. I didn't reach out. 2 years after the hearing, I got an email from Dad to my work address. Alex, I know you said to only reach out when we were ready to actually parent Brielle. I think we're finally there. After you left, things got worse. Much worse. Brielle stole money from your mother's purse. She got suspended from public school for fighting. She started failing all her classes. We tried everything. Grounding her, taking away privileges, threatening to kick her out. Nothing worked. She just got angrier and more destructive. Finally, 6 months ago, she stole your mother's car and drove to see a boy she'd been talking to online. The boy lived 3 states away. She crashed the car on the highway. Totaled it. Thank God she wasn't seriously hurt. That's when we finally got her into therapy. Real therapy, not the kind where we choose the therapist and tell them what to focus on. We found someone who specializes in entitled behaviors and family dysfunction. The therapist was blunt with us. She said we'd failed Brielle by never letting her experience real consequences. That we'd taught her that someone would always rescue her, that her stealing and lying were symptoms of a much bigger problem. She had no sense of personal responsibility because we'd never required her to have one. We've been in family therapy for 6 months now. It's brutal. The therapist doesn't sugarcoat anything. She's made us face some hard truths about our parenting. Brielle is working full-time now, at that same fast food place. She's living at home but paying rent. She's taking one class at community college, paying for it herself. Her grades are good because she's actually doing the work this time. She wanted me to tell you she's sorry. Not sorry in the way she used to apologize, just words to make you stop being mad. Really sorry. Understanding what she did wrong, sorry. I'm sorry too, for everything. For making you feel responsible for your sister. For taking advantage of your generosity. For not protecting you from her entitlement. I'm not asking you to forgive us. I'm not asking you to come back. I just wanted you to know that we finally heard you, and we're trying to do better. Love, Dad. I read the email 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and went for a walk. It took me a week to respond. Dad, thank you for the update. I'm glad Brielle is getting help. I'm glad you're in therapy too. I'm not ready for a relationship with any of you yet. Maybe someday, but not now. I hope you understand that my absence isn't about punishment. It's about protection. I spent years trying to fix a situation I didn't create. I can't go back to that. If Brielle is genuinely changing, I'm happy for her. If you and Mom are learning to be better parents, that's good too. But those things need to happen without me. I have a good life now, a career I love, relationships that are healthy and reciprocal. Peace. I wish you well. I really do. But I wish me well more. Alex, I sent it and felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a quiet sense of closure. 5 years after the hearing, I was giving a keynote speech at a tech education conference when I saw her in the audience. Brielle. She was sitting in the back row, wearing simple clothes, taking notes on a laptop covered in community college stickers. After my speech, I did the usual meet and greet with attendees. She waited until everyone else had left. Hi, she said quietly. Hi, I replied. You were great up there, she said. Your work is really impressive. Thank you. Awkward silence. I'm in your program, she finally said. The nonprofit you run. I've been learning to code through your curriculum. I hadn't known that. One of your instructors nominated me for a scholarship, she continued. Full ride to finish my associate's degree in computer science. I found out last week that I got it. Congratulations, I said, and I meant it. I almost didn't come today, she admitted. I wasn't sure if you'd want to see me. I don't not want to see you, I said carefully. She smiled sadly. That's fair. How are you? I asked. Better, she said. Working, going to school, therapy twice a week. I have an apartment with 2 roommates who call me out when I'm being entitled, which is apparently still a work in progress. It's always a work in progress, I said. I know I can't undo what I did, she said. The money, the lying, how I treated you. I know sorry doesn't fix it. No, I agreed. It doesn't. But I am sorry, she said. Not because I want something from you, just because you deserved better from me. You gave me everything, and I gave you nothing but grief. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in years. She looked older, tired, but also more present than I'd ever seen her, like she'd finally woken up from a long dream. Thank you, I said, for saying that. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Why did you let me into your program? You run the organization. You could have blacklisted me. I'd wondered if she'd figure that out. Because the program is about education and opportunity, I said, not punishment. If you were willing to do the work, you deserve the chance. Even after everything, I confirmed. What you did to me was terrible, but I didn't want to become someone who stands in the way of people trying to change. She nodded slowly. That's pretty generous. It's practical, I corrected. Holding grudges is exhausting. I'd rather use that energy to help people who actually want to learn. Well, she said, for what it's worth, I'm one of those people now. Good, I said. The world needs more people who know how to code. She hesitated. Would you ever want to, I don't know, get coffee sometime? I thought about it. Maybe, I said. Not now, but maybe someday. I'll take maybe, she said. She left, and I watched her go. 7 years after the hearing, Chelsea invited me to her wedding in Barcelona. I flew out for the weekend and met her fiancé, a fellow environmental scientist who looked at her like she hung the moon. The wedding was beautiful, full of people who'd supported Chelsea through everything. During the reception, Chelsea found me at the bar. Thank you for coming, she said. It means a lot. Thank you for inviting me, I said. This is incredible. I wanted to tell you something, she said. That situation with your sister, what you did during the hearing, it changed how I thought about family. How so? I used to think family meant unconditional support no matter what, she said. But you showed me that sometimes love means holding people accountable, that enabling isn't kindness. That's very wise, I said. I'm plagiarizing my therapist, she admitted with a grin. But still, thank you. You're welcome. Also, she said, pulling out her phone, I got a message from your sister a few weeks ago. I tensed. Don't worry, Chelsea said quickly. It was good. She apologized. Not a fake apology, a real one. She explained what she'd done, why it was wrong, and didn't make any excuses. What did you say? I thanked her, Chelsea said, and I told her I was glad she was doing better. Did you forgive her? I didn't not forgive her, Chelsea said, smiling. Sound familiar? I laughed. People can change, Chelsea said. Not everyone does, but some people do. Yeah, I agreed. Some people do. 10 years after the hearing, I was promoted to executive director of the nonprofit. We'd expanded to 40 cities, trained over 10,000 students, and helped hundreds get jobs in tech. One of those students was Brielle. She'd finished her bachelor's degree, earned certifications in web development, and landed a junior developer position at a startup. She sent me a LinkedIn message when it happened. I got the job. I know you probably don't care, but I wanted you to know that your program changed my life. Thank you for not giving up on people like me. I didn't respond right away, but eventually I wrote back, congratulations, keep working hard. She replied, I will. That's a promise I actually plan to keep. 12 years after the hearing, I got invited to speak at Westbridge Academy's Career Day. I almost declined, but Principal Reynolds, who'd stayed in touch over the years, personally asked, our students need to hear from someone who succeeded despite obstacles, she said, not because of privilege. So I went. The campus looked exactly the same. Walking through those halls brought back memories of my one semester there, a feeling like I didn't belong. After my talk, students lined up to ask questions. One girl asked about paying for college without family support. Another asked about imposter syndrome in the tech industry. One boy asked about dealing with family members who resent your success. I answered them all honestly. At the end, Principal Reynolds pulled me aside. That was wonderful, she said. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Can I tell you something? She asked. Of course. After Brielle was expelled, we changed our policies on financial fraud and academic dishonesty. We implemented better oversight, mandatory ethics training, and stronger accountability measures. Because of what happened with your sister, we've caught and addressed problems earlier. We've helped dozens of students get support before they spiral the way she did. That's good, I said. So in a strange way, Principal Reynolds continued, Brielle's mistakes made this school better. They made us better at protecting all our students. I'm glad something good came from it, I said. As I was leaving, I passed by the trophy case in the main hallway. There was a new plaque, the Chelsea Hartley Environmental Science Award. I smiled. Some people leave legacies of destruction, others leave legacies of hope. I knew which one I wanted to be. 15 years after the hearing, I was at a coffee shop working on grant proposals when someone sat down across from me, Brielle. She looked completely different. She was 31 now, dressed professionally, carrying a laptop bag and a wedding ring on her finger. Hi, she said. Hi, I replied. I saw you from across the street, she said. I debated whether to come in, but I figured, why not? Why not? I agreed. How are you? She asked. Good, I said. You? Good, she said. Married, promoted to senior developer last month. Just bought a house. Congratulations. Thank you. She paused. I actually wanted to show you something. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo of a little girl, maybe 3 years old, with Brielle's eyes. That's Camilla, Brielle said. My daughter. She's beautiful, I said. She is, Brielle agreed. And terrifying. How so? Because now I understand, Brielle said quietly. What you gave up for me, what it means to love someone enough to sacrifice for them, what it feels like when that person throws it back in your face. I didn't say anything. I think about it all the time, she continued. How you worked so hard to give me opportunities, how I destroyed all of them, how much I hurt you. Brielle, I'm not asking for forgiveness, she interrupted. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I get it now, and I'm raising Camilla differently, teaching her about work and consequences and gratitude, because I know what happens when you don't. I looked at her, really looked at her. She'd finally grown up. That's good, I said. That's really good. Yeah, she said. I think so too. We sat in silence for a moment. You want to see a picture of my kid? I asked. Her eyes widened. You have a kid? Adopted him 2 years ago, I said, pulling out my phone. His name is Daniel. He's 5. I showed her a photo of Daniel at the park, mid-laugh, covered in mud. He's perfect, Brielle said, smiling. He is, I agreed. He's also exhausting. We spent the next hour trading parenting stories, swapping advice about preschools and pediatricians, talking about everything except our past. When we finally stood to leave, Brielle hesitated. Could we do this again sometime? She asked. Not as obligation, just as people who used to know each other and are trying to know each other again. I thought about it. 15 years ago, I would have said no without hesitation. 10 years ago, I would have said maybe, but meant no. 5 years ago, I would have meant maybe. Now? Yeah, I said. I think we could. Her smile was genuine. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, I said. I'm still pretty guarded. That's fair, she said. I'll take guarded over nothing. As she walked away, I realized something. I didn't forgive her because she'd suffered enough. I didn't forgive her because time had passed. I didn't even forgive her because she'd changed. I forgave her because I'd changed. Because holding on to that anger wasn't serving me anymore. Because I'd built a life I was proud of. And that life had room for grace. Not the grace my parents showed her, the kind that enabled and excused, but the grace that acknowledged growth, that recognized effort, that understood people are more than their worst moments. I finished my coffee and went back to my grant proposals. I had work to do, programs to run, a kid to pick up from preschool, a life I'd built from scratch, without shortcuts or stolen credit cards or anyone's pity, a life I'd earned, and that was enough.